Amazing Designs. This is me, and this is the face of someone who is immunocompromised. Chances are you probably know someone, but if not, now you do. Let's talk a little bit today about coronavirus and some of the things that we've dealt with in the past that have actually been a little worse, but maybe even how coronavirus compares or doesn't compare. So here's a list of, just some epidemics, pandemics that we've seen worldwide, and kind of a timeline format. And I'm going to swing that to the bottom of the screen in just a minute so that we can look at some of the more recent ones in a little more detail. We're going to look at SARS, swine flu, MERS, and corona. So this COVID-19 virus, we only have numbers from, the numbers that I'm going to put up are recent. They're from the 12th, and that was the most recent numbers on the World Health Organization site. That's where all of these numbers came from. But I want you to look at the scope and how many cases there were, how many deaths there were. Because this is where the healthy dose of worry that we should have comes into play. MERS, you can see there was, 2,500 cases, 850-ish deaths. About the same, a little less deaths on SARS. You have a 3%, 34%, and then 0.02, 0.95 on swine flu and SARS. But look at the number of people that have died from each of them. As an immunocompromised person, I really want you to look at those numbers, because with coronavirus, it's like the Spanish flu from 1918, where they're asking us to socially distance ourselves. There's proof that worked. So I'm going to throw just a graphic up for you so you can see. Philly decided not to socially distance. St. Louis did. And there was an 8th less death in St. Louis because of how they handled the situation. So we kind of learned that earlier, more well-organized response slowed the spread of the disease. And it does mean sacrifice on our parts and just more vigilance. But isn't that what loving each other's about? So what is our role in all of this? First of all, I think that just having a healthy perspective about things. It doesn't mean completely freaking out, but it also doesn't mean not observing and the call to action that has been placed before us, because our job is also to help flatten the curve. So how do we do that? The social distancing that I talked about means that we don't gather in incredibly large groups. A lot of things have been canceled. There's a reason for that. So please observe those things. Minimize travel if you can. It might seem like a sacrifice, but in the end, I think that it would be a remotely small thing in the grand scheme of things. If you are in a position to work from home, work remotely if possible. If you have kiddos, know that they may not be presenting symptoms, but they are transmitters. They can carry coronavirus and not present any symptoms. But the schools are closed for a reason. Try to keep them away from other kiddos so that they're not spreading possible viruses to each other. Them away from older individuals. If you can keep them from staying with grandparents, that's a fabulous idea because that's a very vulnerable population. They silently pass this virus to people. Also, I think it goes without saying at this point, but wash your hands. Just wash your hands. Also, can we stop with the hoarding? Seriously. I'm not sure how much toilet paper one person needs, but I've seen pictures of some older individuals in a store not able to get some of the things that they need, not just toilet paper, but groceries. So can we just be cognizant that there are disadvantaged populations that probably need some things that we don't necessarily need, and we're taking things away from them. So be aware of others during this time. If you guys have questions, leave them in the comments. I would love to answer some of them. And just be safe.